How to build a thick old chest. All right. So I'm excited for this one today because building a chest has been a challenge of mine in the past. It is something that it was always a weak point of mine for a very, very long time. I'll tell you more about that in a moment. But ultimately, I know that if you're anything like me, you want to build a thick chest, plain and simple, right? And at the end of the day, I think that there's a lot of people that are out there that are training hard, that are doing a lot of the right things, but just not seeing the results that they want because execution's off, right? There's a lot of misinformation that's out there on the internet these days. There is a lot of different things that you could be doing. So my goal today is just to help inform you as to how you can train smarter and more efficiently, but simultaneously help you to be aware of like what actually matters, right? Because if you're like me, you want to build a good chest, you want to look good, you want to get strong, but you're not trying to step on stage to be a bodybuilder, right? If you are, go watch somebody else's video. This is not for you, right? This is for the people who got a normal job, or any kind of job. I don't think any kind of job is normal, right? You could be an entrepreneur, do whatever, right? But people that are looking to have building their body complement their life, not have it be their life ultimately. Right. Because even for me as a fitness professional, it is not all of my life. Right. So what we're going to talk about today is, like I said, what matters, a little bit about my transformation out the gate, as well as like how can you implement what matters into a weekly routine for yourself so you can see some great chest growth. And I will say this out the gate, just because we're talking about chest today, a lot of the principles are applicable for any other muscle as well. All right. So a little bit about my transformation, if this thing will work. There you go. So like the second one, or the one on the left, was from about 6 years ago, maybe 5. And the one on the right is within like the last month or so. I don't remember exactly when it was taken. But like, as you can see, I had some, progress already. I know that what I had on the left is what a lot of people would like. I was proud of it, but I wasn't satisfied with it, which is why I wanted to continue to build to where I am today, which is, like I said, what you see on the right. And as you can see, I did have some definition on the left, but there's a lot more definition on the right, and it does stick out quite a bit more as well too. So that is what has happened for me. And like this started back when I was in high school, because I remember I played high school football. I had the weakest bench on the team, and it was very embarrassing for me to have. So my chest has always been a weak point, and it has always been a focus, which is why I want to share with you today, like what actually matters and how can you grow it. So no matter if you're just starting out or you're a little bit deeper in your journey, like I was on the left, you can still make progress to where I'm at on the right. Doesn't mean it's going to look the same, but it's going to look great for you still too. Okay. Now, what matters? All right. So I'm going to talk through, let me move this guy so you guys can see everything here. So I'm going to talk through these 4 key points because they're really what matters at the end of the day when it comes down to building muscle. Specifically, let's talk chest. So tension built is the number one driver. Now we're talking mechanical tension in that regard. So the idea here is that you want to basically recruit as much motor neurons, which are just little synapses that are inside of us, to the site to cause a stimulus response, creating growth. Okay. That's the science thing. But the broad science thing is train really hard, progressive overload, and you will build tension and you will build your chest. Okay. So like, I wanted to give you both those breakdowns just so you're aware. But ultimately, with mechanical tension, you have no way of knowing how much you've actually built, which is why we use feedback systems that aren't perfect, but can tell a story to help us know if we're training close enough to failure to actually, or help training hard enough, I should say, to actually build a muscle. Okay. So the main one that is progressive overload. Progressive overload simplified is basically like, let's say you're benching 100 pounds for 6 reps. Your goal is to get that 100 pounds with 6 reps up to about 8, 9, maybe 10 reps, and then add some weight and know that your reps are going to go down to about 6, maybe 5, maybe 7. Not sure. Everyone's a little bit different depending on where you're at in your journey, but that's generally how it goes. Now, most people think that the goal with progressive overload is only adding more weight. But to me, that is the third way that you are focused on applying progressive overload. The first is with control and form. Because if you don't have good control and form, your risk of injury increases. So that's number 1. 2 is reps, like I just talked about. Go from 6 reps up to 9 to 10. And then number 3, add some weight. Okay. So that's how you want to go about it. That's the simplest way I could talk about it. Now, I will say that progressive overload is not king. Mechanical tension is. The reason why I say that is because progressive overload, some people can sandbag by being like, I'm making progress, but they're really not testing their limits and pushing to the upper edge of that. Okay. But they're seeing progress every single week. So that's not always the same. So what you want to know is like, progressive overload only matters when you are testing your limits, when you are like hitting failure regularly on an exercise and itching that up, doing more reps, having more control, and then eventually adding more weight. Okay. So that's what you want to build. Now, what we're talking about, these next few are all to serve building more mechanical tension. So I cannot stress enough that that is the key thing at the end of the day here. All right. Not specific exercises, anything like that, right? Now, the second thing, which is what I talked about or alluded to when it comes to form or control, is form and technique. Now, in general, for any kind of chest exercise, you want your chest lifted. The reason for that is so that way you can actually get an effective stretch on it as your hands come back, which is when your shoulder blades slide together, which again is the same for every exercise. How it's created is a little bit different depending on the variation. And then you want to, in general, try to get your bicep close to your pec, okay? Because that is going to show, using this guy here, that your arm is coming across your body doing shoulder adduction, which is what trains your chest, okay? So it's this. But even if your hand's not coming across your body, just simply like take a barbell bench press, for example, or a machine chest press where the hands don't converge. Even if you're just pushing straight out, see how my elbow pushes my bicep closer to my pec? That's what moves it, right? So you want the sternum lifted to be in position. You want the biceps to touch the pecs to train the chest, okay? Now, every exercise is going to be a little bit different, so I'm not going to go all of them here today. I just want to give you those quick cues and let you know that you're going to need some external feedback to make sure that you are doing it correctly. Because even if it feels right, it may not look right. Right? Or you may not be doing everything correctly, and that could be due to imbalances. Maybe you played sports, whatever it may be. So I recommend working with a friend that's knowledgeable or a coach of some sort that can help you to discern, like, yes, form is doing good, you're looking good, and now go ahead and focus on reps and weight to progress. Now, the next piece is intensity. All right. Now, intensity is exactly what I was talking about when I was saying training close to failure, which we covered in tension build, right? But a key thing that I want you to keep in mind for this one is that if you are not training close enough to failure while doing progressive overload, you're not going to build enough tension. Okay. So that's why intensity still needs to be part of the equation. Training close to failure still needs to be part of the equation because ultimately it is, again, like it is 1B and mechanical tension is 1A in terms of order of importance to build your chest or any muscle. Right. So it's really hard to tell, though, if we're training close to failure, unless you hit failure and then the weight drops, right? But we don't always want that to happen because we want to stay safe. But there's different opinions that I have in that regard, which I can share at a different time, but let's keep it simple. So for intensity, you do want to train close to failure. So I want to share 2 key ways that you can know that you're training close to failure. The simplest, easiest one is that the reps slow down as you go on in the set. Because if you think about it, like the reps slowing down is showing that you're getting closer to them stopping, which is when you hit failure. The second key way is going back to the technique thing. If your technique breaks down, all right, because let's say you're doing that 100 pounds for 6 reps and then you push up to 7, but your technique breaks down. It's like, okay, cool. Let's keep the 100 pounds. Let's keep focusing on the 7 reps, but let's focus on improving your form until you can get good form for that 7 reps at 100 pounds. Then push for 8. All right. So that's one of the key things that I want you to keep in mind in terms of how you go about creating intensity, because a lot of people think that just because their form breaks down, that they should lower the weight or they're doing something wrong. No, you're actually probably doing something right. You just need to be aware of what the good form is. So in that way you can continue to push and apply progressive overload while creating the intensity. See how they all go together? Now, the last piece is volume. A lot of people talk about volume in terms of reps and sets. I'm just going to talk about sets today because reps, honestly, it's a wide range. Anything from 5 to 30 can lead to growth when that last rep is in close enough proximity to failure. It's a mouthful. The gold standard is within 5 reps of failure. My recommendation on my clients is within 3 reps of failure. Reason being is you're giving yourself a better chance simultaneously. Sometimes you think you're actually within that 5 reps because it's getting hard, but you're really not there yet. So let's push that number, push to get a little bit closer to it is really all I'm saying in that regard. Now, when it comes to sets, now, yeah, 10 to 20 can be good if you have the time in your week. Not everybody does. I generally try to get somewhere between 8 to 12 because anything over 4 sets close to failure per week can lead to growth. Now, granted, the further you are in your journey, the more you've built, you may need more, right? That may be something that you just do to maintain when you're traveling or whatever it may be. But in all reality, 8 to 12, I find is a good sweet spot that typically fits into a good week with everything else that an individual is doing. I would really only go over 12 and get closer to like the 15, 20 mark if you have a lot of time and your life is honestly dedicated towards it. But I don't think that's you. So shoot for somewhere between 8 to 12. And the only sets that count are the ones that are taken close to failure. Warm-up set doesn't count. A set where you're testing weight and only did 2 or 3 reps and then are going to add or decrease doesn't count, right? It's only the strict sets that are taken within that 3 reps of failure that we are counting. Again, see how they all go together? All right, now how to structure your training, what you're training, right? So the first thing is frequency. Like how many days in a week are you going to train in general? And then that'll help us to discern how many days you can and should train chest, right? If you're doing 3 full body workouts, I would say at least 2, maybe even 3 of those days, you can be hitting chest as long as you're hitting everything else, or at least a variation of it. Maybe one day's dips and that's your dedicated chest day. If you're doing 4 to 5 days, I find that's the sweet spot. And if you're doing that, you at least want to be training your chest twice within that week. Now, how you break that up is going to depend on what else you're focused on in your workout. But I would say give yourself at least 2 full days of rest before hitting it again, right? Because sometimes if you're doing like upper, lower, right? If you're doing upper one Monday, lower one on Tuesday, rest day Wednesday, upper 2 again, and then lower 2, and then weekend break or maybe some other kind of workout. Great. That's a good 2 days. I tend to put about 3 days in between to give myself, kind of a full mix. And I typically do a little bit more volume on the back end of that too. But, at the end of the day, keep that in mind. 2 to 3 days rest is going to be solid in between them. But again, that's why like if you're doing 3 workouts in a week and that's it, you might only do them 2 days a week because you need to take that full breather if you're only doing Monday, Wednesday, Friday or something like that, right? So keep that in mind, is make sure you have enough rest time. That is because you don't want to be training a muscle that's already sore. It's already broken down. It hasn't had time to recover. It hasn't gotten the most out of that previous set or previous workout. So you want to give it enough time to recover because recovery is when the muscle actually grows, okay? So now the third thing you want to take into consideration is sequencing, right? So when do you train chest within the workout? So a few key things to keep in mind. Always start with what you want to prioritize, whether it's glutes, arms, chest, abs. Start with what you want to prioritize. Now, the and one to that is start with something that's going to help you to isolate the muscle as best as you can. The reason for that is again, we're focused on body transformations and recomposition here. So I'm applying a lot of bodybuilding principles to this. Not saying that I'm a bodybuilder, but I'm applying those principles because they help with the end goal of changing our body composition. So what we want to focus on is like a fly, which I'm doing in the video, in the picture here, is going to pretty well isolate the chest. A dumbbell or barbell bench press is a compound exercise that gets your shoulders, your triceps, other things involved more. So I always, for myself and my clients, start with some sort of fly variation and then some sort of compound variation. That could also be a machine, whatever it may be. But focus on the fly first to isolate the chest, maximize tension built, and then go on to the more compound exercise. What you will find is you will get just as much output on that compound exercise, maybe a little less, but nearly the same amount, but a lot more overall tension built because you're spending time when you're fresh training just your chest, building that high level of tension, and then moving on through the rest of your workout. Okay. Now, the last piece is like exercise selection. What are the exercises that you want to do? So in general, I think it's best to focus on the chest as a whole and then a little bit of an emphasis on upper chest. That being said, if you have like room for 4 or 5 chest exercises in the week, let's make sure you're hitting all regions, right? So in general, arm coming from low up. So it's an incline press where you come across. That's a low to high fly. It's going to hit upper chest. Coming down, right? High to low fly, low chest, right? Or dips are kind of similar, right? They're kind of in a similar position. You're just hitting it in a different way, a little bit more low chest. And then most dumbbell bench press on a flat bench, cable chest press, chest exercise, chest machine exercises, cable flies, pec deck flies. Those are all the whole chest. Now, the chest has regions, but it's all one muscle. There's just your pec major and your pec minor. The fibers kind of, if you look at it, I should have put a visual in here, but they kind of go like from here and then they splay like this. So they're coming from different angles and then come back kind of here at the end, right? Kind of goes like that. So that's how you have different regions, because you got some upper fibers, the mid fibers, the lower fibers. In general, if you're hitting mid all the way across, everything's getting some love, right? Again, it's okay to bias some areas, but it is not something that you should be concerned with. Am I hitting my low chest enough? Because if you're hitting your chest in general and you're targeting just it, isolating it with, like I said, even just a straight across pec deck fly, whatever it may be, your chest, lower, upper, all of it is going to get enough tension and work. Okay. So my recommendation would be aim to have 3 to 4 exercises throughout the week, primarily focusing on straight across, a few to focus on upper, and if you got room for it, 1 to focus on lower as well, and split that up, right? 2 on one day, 2 on another day. Have them back to back. Start the workout with it if that is your priority at the end of the day. Okay. So look, ultimately, that's the things that matters. Here are a few things that you can do if you ever hit a plateau, if you stop growing. So back off sets. Basically, after your last set that you're doing, drop the weight 20, 30%. I didn't put this in here, take a 60, 90, 120 second breather, and then do another set. What's nice about this is because it's less weight and you've taken a good breather, you're going to be nice and you're going to have a lot of tension built already. And you're going to have more control over it because it's lighter. And so you're really just going to be focused on building that tension in your chest for one last set. And only do this, like let's say you do cable fly and then an inclined dumbbell bench press, only do it on the last set of the inclined dumbbell bench press because it is intended to completely toast your chest. Okay. Force reps, you need a spotter, right? But basically it's like, if I can't get that weight up, I'm pushing to get it up. Somebody's going to help pull my arm up and then I'm going to control it back down nice and slow. Squeeze again, they're going to help me up, right? So all it is you're not training past failure, you're just increasing the overall tension built in that. Partials, honestly, I don't like partials for most chest exercises. I would say the only one that I think it's safe enough for you to do on is a cable chest press. Reason being is because when the weight falls, it's not going to fall on you. It's just a cable machine, right? You just come back here, let it go. But simultaneously is you can this doesn't have the full video, but you can boom, boom, and still be squeezing that chest, right? And it not be a full rep and still get something really good out of it. Even flies though, if you're just getting to here rather than to here and you're doing this for the last few, that is solid too, right? And again, do those last set, maybe last 2 sets if you're really focusing on growing it. Changing the program is always a good one. Yeah, about 8+ weeks. If you're kind of stalling out, struggling to see progress, and it's about 8 weeks in, switch out, get something a little bit new in there, a little fresh. You will, that first week or so, you're going to be adjusting, but then after that, you should see some steady growth for a couple of weeks at the very minimum. And the last thing, if you've done all those things, increase your calories a little bit. I would say I put 200 to 400. I would say 100 to 200 at first, slowly increment it up and then take it from there. All right. So look, at the end of the day, if you made it this far, I'm assuming you care about building your chest and a body that you feel confident in. All right. So ultimately, if you want help building a custom program for you, yes, with workouts, but also with nutrition as well too, because it all comes together, then go ahead and book a one-on-one call with me. It's non-committal. You're going to get value out of it regardless. You're going to get an idea as to what you need to work on specifically for you within that call, whether or not you decide to work with me. Okay. So it's non-committal. Do it if you're curious. If you want to learn what are coaches even about? How could they even help me in an online space? schedule it. There'll be a link below, and I just got a little bit here so that way you're aware. Because yeah, you'll get custom workout program, custom nutrition plan. I audit your technique and your form through video feedback. I'm always in my gym for those. I don't know why. I just had no Wi-Fi today, so that's why I'm not in there. Ongoing workout coaching too. Like we're going to be checking in. I have dialogue created on certain exercises that my clients are looking to build. So that way you're maximizing, but also learning principles that you can apply to others as well too. My Fitness Pal audit. So whenever you're tracking nutrition, you got that nutrition plan in. If you're starting to hit your numbers, I'm here to audit it, help you do with whatever you're eating, kind of make adjustments for it. And then what comes with that is nutrition coaching. But that's really like strategy, right? Like if you got travel coming up, if you got, a big social weekend, like there was a holiday weekend this past weekend at the time I'm recording this, like whatever it is, like how do you handle those? If your partner has like a unique way of eating and that's a challenge for you or creates friction, we'll talk about how to overcome that as well too. And then the last big piece too is like regular check-ins. I typically do every other week and dive deep into whatever you would need, whether it be a phone call or a FaceTime, whatever you need to get all your questions asked and answered. All right. So that's just my little spiel. If you want to learn more about what a customized program will look like for you, there'll be a link below in the comments. So reach out, schedule something, and regardless, always feel free to reach out to me if you got any questions in the DMs on IG. Thanks and have a good one.